Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the BSN podcast. Today is Wednesday, July 27th. Hope everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Wednesday, July 27th here today, coming off an exciting night last night in the world of sports. You had the Yankees-Mets game one of the two-game series, Subway Series. It was a wild one, 6-3. Was back and forth early on. Yankees put up 2 in the top of the fourth. Mets come back with 4 in the bottom of the first, or top of the first, I should say, with the Yankees putting up 2, bottom of the first, Mets put up 4, and the Mets didn't look back. They go on to win 6-3. Really tough loss for the Yankees, a really tough one. I'm going to get into it. I'm going to recap the game, so I'm not going to get into too much detail right now, but a really difficult loss for the New York Yankees, and I think yet again last night is another sign of this Yankee team that we're looking at right now is not good enough to go on and beat teams like Houston. You know, if they would to get to the World Series, beat a team like the Dodgers or even a team like the Mets that we all know are going to be a threat in the National League. Like, this Yankee team needs reinforcements. And last night, yet again, it showed. So I'm going to get into it, talk about the game last night, talk about the Yankees, where they're at. I had one big issue with a decision that Boone made last night. You know how I've been this year. I have actually thought throughout this year Boone has done a very good job. Last night there was a decision that he made that I have no clue why in the world he made it. I'm going to give you reasons why. Frustrating loss last night for the New York Yankees. So we're going to get into it. We got a lot to get to today on the program on this Wednesday, middle of the week. Training camp starts today. First practice for the Jets and the Giants. You're already getting tweets and updates from all over the place, so that's good to see. Denzel Mims, we've already seen, has made a couple nice catches, so maybe he has a good summer. But the first day of many, so a lot to look forward to there. But the topics for today's podcast, similar to the last two episodes, baseball and a football topic. So we're going to get into some baseball. Yankees versus Mets recap. It's that time of year, July, August. It's a lot of baseball and a lot of football at training camp. So it's kind of that time of year. So we're going to start off with the Yankees and Mets, recap last night's game. We're going to get into both sides of it, but I really want to get into the Yankees because it's just where they're at right now is they're in a frustrating spot, and it stinks. You know, it stinks that they're in this position right now because we know that this team is capable of doing great things if we just put the right pieces in place. But last night, yet again, is a sign that the Yankees need to make moves. I mean, they have to make moves at the deadline because this team we're seeing that we saw last night is looking more like the team that we saw last year, and that's the team that's too reliant on the home run. That's the team that's making boneheaded decisions on the bases, not having good at-bats. So we're going to get into it. Not panic mode, but it's definitely time to kind of press the button to say, hey, look, let's do some stuff here. Cashman, step up and let's make some moves. So we're going to get into it. We're also going to get to Mekhi Becton. Really great news out of Jets training camp. Becton was out there today, came into training camp yesterday. His weight is good. He's ready to roll. He got taken off, the PUP list, whatever you want, the physically unable to participate, whatever you want to call it, the PUP list, whatever you want to call it. He got officially taken off that. Jets are all healthy. Font's ready to go. Becton's ready to go. Carl Lawson's ready to go. So the main injury question marks going into the offseason are all ready to rock and roll. So great that the Jets are going to training camp healthy. I'm going to talk about what this means for the Jets and why Becton is primed to have a big bounce back year. We'll get to that, and we'll finish things off in the New York Sports Update. Tonight, Yankees-Mets game 2 of this Subway Series. Yankees look to split. Herman on the mound tonight for the Yankees. Scherzer on the mound for the Mets. Not optimistic. Don't feel great about tonight's game. Don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Yankees are still 66-32. It's not like I'm talking about a team right now that just went below 500 with the loss last night. No. Yankees are still 34 games above 500. They're still in a prime position. They're still going to make the postseason. They're going to finish in first. I mean, they're still 11 and a half games up, but it is time to be a little worried with where this team's at if they don't make moves. So we're going to get into it. So with all that being said, a lot to get to on the program. This is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So last night was the Subway Series. Before I really get into the nitty-gritty and everything that went on and took place into the game, the frustrating night that it was for the New York Yankees, it was a great atmosphere. Everything you would expect out of a Subway Series you got last night. With the Yankees striking first with 2 home runs in the top of the first, back-to-back. Judge going first, and then Rizzo right behind him. 2 opposite field shots. Judge to the bullpen, Rizzo to the left field wall over by the party deck at Citi Field. It was really just a phenomenal first inning for the Yankees, and everything kind of went downhill from there. Yankees put up 2 runs in the first, 2 home runs back-to-back, and after that they scored 1 run the next 8 innings. So a really tough night for the New York Yankees. Atmosphere was great. 42,364 passionate Yankees and Met fans were there last night. It was awesome. You going back and forth between Yankee chants and Mets chants, and that's what the Subway Series is all about. The atmosphere that you saw last night is not an atmosphere you get on a typical July Tuesday night during the middle of the baseball season. And I got to admit, these games like this against the Mets that feel different, that the atmosphere feels like the playoff atmosphere, these are the games you need during the dog days of summer. Night in and night out playing games, game after game after game, you can sometimes lose that energy, lose that edge a little bit. Kind of when you're watching the game, it feel a little flat. Last night, it was nothing short of phenomenal atmosphere. And, the best part of it was, just the crowd and the back and forth Yankee Met chants like I just mentioned a couple seconds ago. That's just 2 passionate fan base in the city of New York in general. I mean, the city in general has gone from really struggling to really a lot of positives. I mean, the Rangers had a really deep run, as we all know. The city really rallied around them through their run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yankees and Mets both atop their divisions. New York went from being really bad in all sports, where Yankees were good but losing in the postseason, Mets, not making the postseason, Jets and Giants being terrible. Now there's a lot of optimism. The Rangers going into next season, a lot of optimism. There's, some optimism a little bit around the Knicks. The Yankees and Mets playing well. Jets and Giants finally seem to be on a path to winning football games. Jets, like I said, think will be more competitive this year than the Giants, but the Giants definitely with finally a legit head coach and GM, they seem to be primed in a good spot. So last night was excellent. So I just wanted to get that off my plate first because it might get a little negative because I thought last night the atmosphere was great, all that, but the play was not from the New York Yankees. The Yankees fall 6-3, 3 runs, 9 hits, 1 error. Mets have 6 runs, 10 hits, and an error. And I'm not going to sit here and say that the Yankee season's over, it's done, it's over with, forget about it, season's over. The Yankees are still 66-32. They're still 11 and a half games up. They still have excellent cushion in the American League East. Toronto's playing the best baseball of the season right now, and they're still 11 and a half games up. If it gets to the point where it turns into a 6-game lead, a 5-game lead, then we can start to get worried, especially if it's after the trade deadline. But last night, there's been many of these games recently. Whether it was Saturday night in Baltimore, whether it was the 2 games on Thursday in Houston, whether it was the Cincinnati Reds series, the first game against Boston last week, or yet again last night, the Yankees continue to show us that they need help. This roster needs help. There's been plenty of examples of this. Cincinnati series losing 2-3 like I mentioned. Saturday night in Baltimore. The 2 games against the Astros last night. And this is all around the All-Star break. And you would hope that going into the All-Star break, Yankees had those 2 dominant victories Saturday and Sunday of last week, or 2 weeks ago, or actually this week it will be 2 weeks now, against the Red Sox, outscoring them 27-3. And then you go into the All-Star break, you come out of it, you lose 2 in Houston, you take 2 or 3 against Baltimore, that's good. But then you lose last night, and you lose last night in a really bad way because you put up 2 runs in the first inning, things look great, Montgomery doesn't pitch well. The one time Montgomery gets run support, he struggles. And that's really tough because Yankees don't give Monty run support. When you get 2 back-to-back home runs in the first inning, you got to hold on to that lead. You got to pitch well. You got to be better than allow 4 runs in the bottom of the first, 2 of those coming via the home run ball by Starling Marte and Eduardo Escobar. It was really frustrating to watch last night. Eduardo Escobar being a 2-run shot, Marte being a solo shot. It was really frustrating last night's game. And last night's game was kind of a sign that what we're seeing out of this Yankee team right now is a lot of what we saw last year. A little too reliant on the home run ball, a little too, relying on the home run ball, pitching not playing, going up to its ability. Montgomery's a lot better than 2 1/3, 5 runs, 4 earned, 3 Ks, taking 71 pitches to get through 2 1/3 innings. Montgomery's a lot better than that. He went into last night with an ERA of 3.24. That ballooned up to 3.50. Montgomery's a lot better than that. Last night wasn't good, though. And tonight you have Herman, and that's really concerning. Herman against Scherzer. That is talk about comparing apples to apples. You're comparing apples to, oranges here. I mean, you're talking about Scherzer, one of the best pitchers in baseball, to Herman, a guy who you wonder if he's even going to be a factor in the postseason. You wonder if he's going to be even on this roster after the trade deadline. He's a guy that maybe gets moved. I mean, maybe gets thrown into a deal. Where do the Yankees put him? There's a question there, but watching last night is just frustrating because you get runners on, can't come through. 2 left on base in the third, 2 left on in the fourth, 2 left on in the ninth. 10 total in the game. 3-0 count to Rizzo in the third inning, or fourth inning rather, with runners with the bases loaded. Rizzo can't come through after Judge walked. And look, I'm not going to sit here and criticize Rizzo for singling 3-0. I understand Taijuan Walker threw 7 balls in a row. It would have been a strike. It was right down the middle. It's not like he swung at a ball 3-0. Look, he put a good piece on it. Citi Field just held it in. It was driven out to the warning track. Nimmo was up against the wall. He put a good piece on it. He just couldn't come through. He got the green light, found a good pitch to hit. It was right down the middle. He put a good piece on it. I'm sure there's other stadiums where that would have been a home run. I'm not trying to make excuses for Rizzo. I'm just saying the people today that are like, oh, Rizzo swinging 3-0, it's ridiculous. If he would have hit a grand slam, people would have been great. If he would have looked at a pitch down the middle and then grounded out, people would be like, oh, well, why didn't he swing at that pitch down the middle? It's a lose-lose anyway. The only way he wins that 3-0 count is if he hits a grand slam and the Yankees take the lead. I have no issue with that. What I do have an issue, though, last night, that came in the bottom of the 8th. And I don't know, top of the 8th, rather. I understand that IKF is not a power hitter. And I get all that. And there's a runner on second, or runner on first, it being Aaron Hicks, just got walked by Ottavino, who, by the way, pitched well last night as well. An inning and 2/3, 1 hits, 1 walk, no Ks, was efficient, 30 pitches, 16 strikes. Was accurate, command was a little off, but got the job done. Gave them length to set up Diaz for the 4-out save, which he ended up executing. Why pinch hit for Gallo in that situation? IKF on the night has 2 singles. He had a single in the second, had another single in the fourth. He's a guy that's got the longest hit streak of the season as any New York Yankee. Currently holds the longest hit streak in the entire year. The Yankees. No other Yankee has had a long hit streak like IKF. What is it, 13 games now? Look, IKF gets on. You're looking at, I just don't understand the logic to pinch hit for Joey Gallo. Or pinch hit for IKF and bring in Gallo, I should say. I don't understand that logic. Gallo, a guy who went into his at-bat batting 162, is a high strikeout pitcher. They're going to bring Diaz in. Why not put IKF out there? And you hear, oh, he's tough against righties. Okay, IKF's one of the hottest hitters in baseball. Instead of looking at the analytical stuff, and this is where the Yankees this is where it concerns me. Yankees were less analytical, it seemed, earlier in the year. Now it's like they're turning back into that analytical phase. He's tough against righties. But IKF's one of the hottest hitters in baseball. And you're going to take out IKF and put in the worst player on your roster, maybe the worst Yankee of all time, in Joey Gallo. I mean, at least, and you might say, okay, well, he gives us a better chance to hit a home run. Well, if IKF gets on, let's say it's a double. You're looking at second and third for the all-star catcher Jose Trevino to come up. And let's say Jose Trevino gets on, or hits a single and he scores a run, boom, you're back to the top of your order. Now, maybe at that point, Edwin Diaz comes in, but I'd trust a whole lot more DJ against Diaz with 2 outs in second and third than Gallo with a runner on first, 2 outs against Edwin Diaz. And I knew this game was over right when the music sounded, the trumpet sounded to bring in Edwin Diaz. I knew it was over. And I just sat there and stared at the television, kind of just like, we're doing this. We're bringing in Gallo to face up against, and look, I'm a Yankee fan, but I'll admit, one of the best reliever, maybe the best reliever in all of baseball. Him and Clay Holmes are right up there. I mean, Diaz is nasty. He's nasty. He got 3 strikeouts, 4 total, 3 in the 9th inning. He got LeMahieu to swing out of the zone, which you very rarely see out of DJ. He got Rizzo to swing out a pitch completely out of zone, and then he got Glaber to swing at a pitch that wasn't really out of the zone. It was just a well-executed pitch that hit the corner, and Glaber swung. I mean, he's nasty. He's really good. I mean, that's why the Mets got him. I know up to this season he hasn't been the reliever that Mets fans would have hoped, but man, oh man, he's coming through. I mean, he's got an ERA below 2. He's pretty dominant. And last night, he only threw 4 balls, 23 pitches, 19 strikes. I mean, you talk about just dominating the zone. But I knew the game was over right then and there. And if Boone's going to pinch hit, because he brought in Marwin Gonzalez then to take over for IKF at shortstop, might as well just put Marwin Gonzalez in the game there anyway. I know he's a switch hitter, so you could throw him out there as a righty too, or a lefty. It's just, I don't know. I mean, even look, Castro, like if he laid down a bunt or something, anything other than Joey Gallo with a runner on, 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th when you're down in a game by 2 runs. And I get the fact that he can hit a home run, but has Gallo done that consistently this year? No, he has not. And Boone's answer in the press conference was about the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Gallo gives us a better chance to get on base. So you're telling me Joey Gallo, the guy who strikes out a ton, gives you a better chance to get on base than IKF, who's the hottest hitter, one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball right now? Okay, all right. Maybe that was the case. I don't know. But I knew the game was over right when the trumpet sounded. You see Citi Field going wild. And by the way, gotta love that walkout music. I mean, that's some excellent music to come out of the bullpen. It really is. But you knew that game was over because you knew who Diaz was facing. Joey Gallo, the guy who strikes out a ton. You have and this is just the matchup too just doesn't make sense. Talk about analytical stuff. Diaz this year, I believe, per inning is striking out about 2 batters per inning. So he's a closer. He's mainly going out there to get 3 guys out. 2 of the 3 are a lot of times strikeouts. So you have a pitcher that strikes out batters at a high rate, and then you bring in a batter who strikes out at a high rate. Where is the thinking? Where is the thinking? It just doesn't make sense. Any guy on the Yankees roster. Look, Castro, I would have trusted him more out there. But you want to know why? Because maybe he would have laid down a bunt and utilized his speed and got on base. And Gallo looked outmatched. I mean, he looked silly up there. I mean, he just looked silly. I mean, he swung at the pitch in the 3rd. I mean, he's a guy that only going to be a Yankee for a couple more days. I truly believe he's not going to be here for much longer. And even if he is here for the rest of the season, he's not going to play much because we're going to probably bring in an outfielder, and Gallo's play time, especially when Stan comes back from the IL, is going to really dwindle. So really tough. Last night was just tough. It was frustrating. It's a Subway Series, and you hear it today from all the Met fans out there saying all this stuff, and rightfully so. I mean, they have all right to say whatever they want. At the end of the day, too, it's a regular season game, right? In October, this is going to be nothing. If the Yankees go on and win the World Series, nobody's going to be worried about this Subway Series game, especially if it is a Subway Series World Series. But it's games like this, and I don't like the people that say, oh, it's one game out of 162. I get that to a certain extent, but I hope people realize that it's games like this that are eye-opening because it shows you that this team has flaws. This team needs help. This team needs reinforcements. They need bullpen. They need another starting pitcher. And they need another bat. And Brian Cashman and the Yankees front office, Steinbrenner and Cashman, Howell and Cashman, need to step up to the plate, wake up, and make some moves. And it's not August 2nd yet, and there's been very minimal moves. So I'm not saying that Cashman's like the only GM right now not doing anything. I'm sure he's talking. But he needs to make moves. And we said this last year. He made the moves. One has worked out, one hasn't. Rizzo's been great. Clay Holmes has been great. Joey Gallo's been atrocious. We all know. But bringing a guy like a Benintendi, bringing a bullpen arm like a Scott Barlow, Luis Castillo. I know Soto's a pipe dream, but if you can get him for the right price, go out and get Juan Soto. If you bring him in here, I'd automatically believe this is a World Series contender. Yankees need help. I'm not saying it's not time to say the season's over. People out there saying, "Oh, the Yankees are done, season's over." And it's not. Thankfully, this is happening prior to the trade deadline. Yankees now have an opportunity August 2nd in these next coming days here, July 27th, to make moves, upgrade this roster, and get this thing back going in the right direction. Because right now, the Yankees are going off track a little bit. It's out of the All-Star break. You're in the dog days of summer. Sometimes you need to make a couple trades to get this boost. And the Mets aren't perfect either. I mean until last night and Sunday night, the Mets weren't hitting. Maybe they found the hit a little bit, but the Mets need another catcher. A lot of Met fans would love to have another bullpen arm out there. So Mets have needs too. So do the Yankees. But the Yankees right now are more glaring because the Mets are finding still ways to win. Yankees are starting to struggle and show a lot of signs of last year, which is not what we want. Because last year's team was awful. It was brutal. It was just ugly. So for the Yankees, this is a wake-up call. Another wake-up call for Brian Cashman in this front office. Pitching, another bullpen arm, and really need another bat and another outfielder, especially with Stan going on the IL 2 to 3 weeks. He'll be out. That's going to take you up way through the All-Star break, or not All-Star break, trade deadline rather. Ian Happ, Brian Reynolds, Benintendi, Soto, Scott Barlow, any of those guys, Luis Castillo. I think if we can get Castillo here, you're talking about, that would be great for the Yankees. You're going to go into the postseason with 3 legit aces on your pitching staff. Cortez, Cole, and Luis Castillo. That's pretty scary. If you can bring him in, that's great. So options are out there. I want to make this clear. Yankees last night, really tough loss. I'm not crazy optimistic about tonight's game just because of the fact Herman's, I think what makes last night's game so frustrating is the Yankees got off to a good start. Things were looking good, and Monty just struggled. And he's going to have starts like that, but he got run support. Like the one time he gets run support, just couldn't hold on. But Yankees need bullpen. They need another arm, need another starting pitcher, and they need another outfielder. And this can be done. I've said this. A lot of fans out there are like, "Oh, this team's done. Forget about it. Season's over." You even see a couple fans thinking, "Oh, in the offseason, what do we do with this guy?" It's like, it's July. This team's going to make the postseason. We're all right. I'd rather this stretch of bad play happen now than post-All-Star break in late August when you can't make any moves other than call guys up or release a guy, right? Trade deadline is happening for a reason. It's an opportunity for every team to make the moves they need to make, finalize their rosters, and get ready for the final push towards October. So the Yankees need to execute, because if the Yankees don't make the right moves at the trade deadline, then I will be in that boat of this team's not going anywhere. But if they make the right moves, this team will be able to get back on track. But last night, I think, was, again, like I mentioned, another wake-up call to Brian Cashman saying, hey, look, this team needs help, and you can do that by executing and making the right moves at the trade deadline. So, tough loss last night for the Yankees. Game 2 of the Subway Series tonight. And for the Mets, it was a good win. It was a good win. Mets are a good team. I hate to say it. Don't like to say it, but Mets are a good team. And they took advantage, too, when they had opportunities last night. Only left 4 runners on base. When they had opportunities, they took advantage. Something the Mets haven't done much of recently. So, very possible that Pete Alonso home run that he hit on Sunday night against San Diego at Citi Field very well could have unlocked this offense. Seems that's the way things might be going for the Mets. Once again, your final thing here: 6 runs, 10 hits, 1 error, 4 left on base for the Mets. The Yankees had 3 runs, 9 hits, 1 error, 10 left on base. I know they had hits, leaving 10 on base. But the long ball really, just outside of that, just got hits, just couldn't get the runners on. A couple base stuff mistakes, base paths. Rizzo stealing. I don't understand the logic behind that. It's not Rizzo's decision. It was just a double steal, sending Judge to third, Rizzo to second. I think it was a little bit in part to get the double play out of the equation, but then that sucks it right out of an offense because then Glaber ends up popping out to the first baseman, Alonso. So, that's tough. And then, when Fleffa gets picked off, that took, some of the energy out of, that inning too, because then Trevino lines out to first base or to the pitcher, which was a great hit. But it just takes the energy. When you make outs on the base pass, it takes the energy out of a team. And you saw that twice. Runners on, get out on the bases, next batter was an out. So gotta limit those too. But tonight will be game 2. Like I mentioned last night, 42,364 showed up, expecting another big crowd tonight. Herman versus Scherzer. Don't feel great about the game, but I guess you gotta believe. I guess you gotta try to buy in and hope that Herman can have a better outing than he did. My biggest thing too is even if Herman pitches well, is he gonna be able to outpitch Max Scherzer? Like if Scherzer, you gotta expect Scherzer to at least go out there, throw 6 innings and at least 6-7 strikeouts, automatically. Anything else is just a bonus. Herman, what is he gonna give you? Is he gonna give you another 3-inning outing of 6 runs or something? Is he going to give you some length? Is he going to give you a solid outing where he throws 6 innings, 5 Ks, efficient, and hands it off to the bullpen? Herman needs to give us some length. Because the bullpen last night, we had to go through a lot of arms. Now, Peralta only threw 4 pitches, so he'd be good to go today. But Marinaccio threw 24 pitches. Loaizaga threw 15. Chapman threw 10. Abreu threw 21. So you assume Marinaccio, Abreu, Loaizaga all out of the equation. Chapman, Peralta probably could be used again. Boone usually doesn't use Chapman twice in a row. Guys that weren't used last night were Holmes, Licky, and Schmidt. So Schmidt could possibly be a guy that if Herman only goes 2-3 innings tonight, Schmidt could be a guy that could give you those 2-3 long innings. He could be more that long-distance reliever type guy. So we'll see how it all plays out. But Herman, because then you have a 4-game set against the Royals, and the Royals aren't good. But you got 4 days. You got 4 games in a row, and your day off was Monday. That was your opportunity to rest your bullpen. Now you got to get some length from your starters. So just hoping Herman can give us some length. Even if he allows 3-4 runs, but if he can at least give you some length and at least put the offense in a situation. All I ask out of Herman tonight, I don't need 8 innings, 10 strikeouts. That'd be great. I don't expect it to happen. All you need Herman tonight is when he walks off the mound, he walks off with the Yankees having a chance to win the game, hands it off to the bullpen with a chance to win the game for the Yankees. That's all I ask. Or at least hand it off to the bullpen with the Yankees and the bullpen and the bats still having a chance to win the game. Don't hand it off to the bullpen after allowing 5 runs and the score being 5-0. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. Because Scherzer is going to be great. No matter, I think it's going to be fun, though, to see the battles between Judge and Scherzer today. It will be fun. So we'll see. But anyway, that will do it for the Yankees and Mets here. I could go on and on and on about last night's game. Good win for the Mets. Tough for the Yankees. Look to bounce back tonight and split the Subway Series. And they will have then 4 games at Yankee Stadium against the Royals, which very possibly could be the start of could very well be Benintendi's preview to his new home. Maybe. Benintendi will be here for 4 games, and then maybe by Tuesday he'll be calling Yankee Stadium his home. We'll see how that all plays out come trade deadline. So, anyway, that will do it for the Yankees and Mets. Coming up now, we're going to get into some football. It's that time of year, July into August. It's a lot of baseball. It's a lot of football. It's kind of all what's going on. Hockey, basketball, both in the offseason. The Kevin Durant stuff is still dragging on. Nothing really worth talking about that right now other than just a bunch of rumors. But we're going to get into football here. We're going to get into Mekhi Becton because the big story for the New York Jets going into training camp was Becton and if he would be ready to go come training camp and if he would be in good weight and all that stuff. Well, he's in good shape and he's ready to rock and roll. Updated, so the Jets officially have moved Becton to the right tackle while George Font will continue to the man left tackle. Mekhi's left tackle days are over, Jets head coach Robert Saleh told reporters today. So, Becton will be left tackle. Becton will be left tackle and right tackle rather, and Font will be left tackle. So this is great news. Players are speaking to the media right now. Wilson's up there as well. Becton, many guys. Some guys spoke yesterday. Quinn Williams spoke yesterday. Mosley, DJ Reed spoke yesterday. I think Elijah Vera Tucker, AVT, spoke yesterday. So all these guys are speaking. Giants, same thing. They'll have more media stuff today. Giants, I don't think, spoke to the media yesterday. I think today they'll speak, though. Dable, I know, spoke, I think, earlier. Salah, all that stuff. So that stuff's going on now. First day of practice was today. Becton was out there. Carl Lawson was out there. George Fant was out there. So the most important thing for the New York Jets is everybody's healthy. Font's ready to go. Lawson's ready to go. And Becton's ready to go. And the biggest storyline going into training camp was, would Mekhi Becton be ready? Would he come in the right weight, with the right, in the right weight, right shape? And because it seemed coming out of minicamp, OTAs and stuff like that, it seemed like he was in a spot where the Jets weren't thrilled with his weight. Salah never really went out of his way to say anything about it. They just said, where's Becton at? He says, oh, he's fine, he's all right, he'll be good. Never really seemed like the Jets were too happy with where he was at. And Becton very well could have took that and say, hey, look, I got to work hard these next 40 days between OTAs and training camp if I want to remain a New York Jet. And he did that. He did just that. And there's a picture of him walking into camp yesterday. He looked great. You could definitely tell he slimmed down a little bit. And you even see, again, today, out there on the practice field, and I think that's big, and I think that actually caught the Jets by surprise, because they originally put him on the PUP list, the PUP list. They originally put him on that, meaning he couldn't practice. They could take him off any time, and then boom, he comes into camp looking the way like he's looking, and they take him right off, and boom, he was practicing today. And you don't know how big this is for the New York Jets. Number one, just in terms of media, storylines, and positive energy around the team. Because the last thing you wanted for the New York Jets was, with all the positivity that happened in the offseason, all the moves, the draft, the free agency, Lincoln Tomlinson, AVT coming back, specifically on the offensive line, just all the positive vibes around this Jets team. The last thing you wanted was Becton to have like that weight concern, and that to be the storyline, and try to figure out what's going to be your tackle situation with Font and then who else. Is the last thing you wanted, especially going into week one. And number two, so the fact that that is no longer a possibility, the fact that Becton comes in good, Jets don't have any negative storylines. They come into camp with a lot of positives. Everybody's healthy. A lot of young guys, a talented roster, a much improved second-year coach, all these great things. And number two, just the pure ability of what Becton brings to the table at the tackle position. And if George Font has the year like he had last year, where he comes in and plays well, and then if Becton comes in and did what he does in his rookie year at right tackle, you're looking at an offensive line with a Pro Bowler, a guy coming off a career year, two young guys that have a bright future, and Connor McGovern kind of manning it at the center position, who he's not a star-studded center, but he's solid. Jets' offensive line now is set. There's no more questions. It's set. It's good. Health is the biggest thing coming into camp. Was Becton? What about the weight? And it's all good. And this is great for the New York Jets, because the last thing you wanted, especially for a young team that's already going to have other distractions, just the pure nature of being a rookie is tough, and a young team, it's, being young in the NFL is tough. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things in your mind, on the field, off the field, all that stuff. Finding a way to balance all that stuff is very difficult. And it would be even harder if there's issues around your fellow teammates and weight and holding out and not practicing and all that. So it's great that Becton comes in, and I think it's great because all the haters, all the people out there that in a way wanted to see Becton fail, well, now they can't speak anymore because Becton's coming to camp great. And I think this really shows, too, that Becton very well could have had that moment with himself like, look, I'm not in the best shape of my life. I'm not where the Jets want me. I got to be better just with myself. I just got to be better. And there's very well he could have had that moment where it was like a one-on-one with himself. It could have been any time. And I think the fact that he actually stayed in the New Jersey area, he used the facility during those 40 days, he worked out with some guys, he was in the area. I think it was clear that Becton, I think when he came into OTAs, and I think the Jets weren't thrilled with where he was at. You almost wonder if he had that kind of one-on-one moment with himself. Like, look, if I don't get myself in the best shape of my life, if I don't get myself where the Jets want me to, I might not have a job this year. I might find myself, I might find myself either a backup or the Jets cut me, and I find myself looking for a job, looking for another opportunity on another NFL team. Who knows if a starter? He's got loads of talent. Even going back to Louisville, weight's been the biggest issue. He's a big guy. But when he is healthy and when he's out there, I mean, he just showed some flashes. He handled the Bosa brothers in 2020 good. He did well against Donald in 2020. I know this is 2 years ago. This wasn't last year. So for those of you who are wondering when we played the Chargers and the Niners, this was the brutal 2-14 year. Becton, the 2-14 season, Becton was one of the lone bright spots. He was. Him and Quinnen Williams actually had a pretty solid year. And a lot of people thought, myself included, Becton very well could have been a Pro Bowler that year. He was excellent his rookie year. And then last season went into the year, everyone was hoping, and he got hurt. It's just a freak thing. It's tough. It stinks to see it. But when he's healthy and when he's at the weight that the Jets want him at, and he's moving and freely, and he's talented. He's got loads of talent. You see some of the blocks he made in his Louisville days, some of the plays he made in 2020 with the Jets his rookie year. He's a guy that him, Elijah Vera Tucker, are going to be very good for a long time. And them being both on the same side now, you wonder if that has anything to do with moving him the right tackle. Now they'll match up with each other. I think it's great. Even Becton wore a shirt during OTAs that said Big Bust on it. Like, I love that stuff. I think that's great. I think that's great for him. I think it's great for the Yankees coming in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And now, we don't have to worry about anymore the right tackle, left tackle. We know that Font's going to be the left tackle, Becton's going to be the right tackle. It's just great to see. It really is, because this Jet team, I can't tell you, there hasn't been many times where the Jets go into training camp with all these positives and all these great things and all this health around the team. That's all very good. A lot of times you go into training camp, guys are banged up, this and that. The fact that the Jets go into training camp and we get a couple surprises, I'll tell you my opinion on Becton. Becton, I kind of saw it. Throughout this entire time, I hope that Becton would succeed. I really do. I loved when they drafted him. Huge fan of his. Loved what he did in 2020. Was terrible to see him go down last year. And I think this offseason, I think all of us Jet fans were kind of just waiting and seeing. We all wanted to see him succeed. We all do. But it was just a matter of would he get in the right weight. And it's obvious that he has. And I think this is great for the Jets. So now you add the Becton to right tackle, Font to left tackle. I don't think, to be honest with you, I think a lot of Jet fans are, maybe stressing a little bit the Becton to the right tackle and stuff, like maybe being a little too worried with that. I don't see an issue with that. I don't think Becton to right tackle, I don't really think is an issue. I think I just feel like, I'm fine with it. Look, my biggest thing with Becton is, and people can say all the stuff they want. People say, if people have an issue with him being right tackle or whatever, I don't really have an issue with it. People could say, it's not good, or you're taking it out of his element. My biggest thing is the fact is Becton's healthy. He's in the white. He's got the right weight. He's coming healthy. He's ready to rock. He's ready to roll. He's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He's got that little extra energy. I'm fine with it. I think we'd all rather him play right tackle than not play at all, right? I think that's the biggest thing. And Font's coming off a great year, so you got to trust Font. And now Tucker, AVT, and Becton are going to be on the same side, hopefully for years to come. So, I'm fine with it. I think the Jets, this is a big win for the Jets to see that Becton comes into camp healthy, ready to roll, and this Jets team is healthy and hungry going into training camp. All right, so that's what I got for the Jets here. So Becton, right tackle, I'm perfectly fine with it. Perfectly fine with it. I like it. He's ready to rock. He's ready to roll. And he's healthy. He's in the right weight. And this offensive line's got a real bright future. That's all that matters. All right, so let's get to the New York sports update and the rest of baseball. We got the Phillies, Braves, Tigers, Padres, Royals, Angels, Twins, Brewers, Nationals, Dodgers, Rockies, White Sox, A's, Astros, Diamondbacks, Giants, Marlins, Rangers, Reds, Marlins, Rays, Orioles, Cardinals, Blue Jays, and the Guardians, Red Sox. Yankees, Mets tonight. Yankees come into tonight's game 66-32. Mets come into tonight's game 60-37. Tonight, 7:10 Eastern on ESPN. Yankees got Domingo Germán on the mound. He's 0-1 with a 15 ERA. And the Mets got Max Scherzer on the mound. He's 6-2 with a 2.28 ERA. Over-under set at 7.5. All right, let's see here. I'm currently losing in my main league 99-81, but today I've got 4 pitchers going. Max Scherzer, Logan Webb, Tariq Skubal, Kyle Gibson, and in my other league, in my other fantasy league, I'm currently winning 103-69, and today I've got going Logan Webb and Adam Wainwright. By the way, my main league, I got Tariq Skubal going. He is the Tigers. There was a report came out yesterday that everyone's available, so I guess that even includes Javier Baez, which is interesting because they went out and signed him and gave him a big deal. Not really interesting anymore. But the Tigers, man, I mean, they're a team that went all out in the offseason, and it's just a pure example of just hasn't worked out. And, Baez has been awful for them. I mean, Baez has been terrible. Just hasn't worked out. So a team now that looks like they're going to sell. So could Tariq Skubal possibly be an option for the Yankees now? Definitely possible. A lot of options out there. There's a lot of pitching out there this year on the market. There's always going to be pitching on the market. Marlins revealed yesterday that everybody except Sandy Alcantara is available, which I don't know how much I believe of that. Are they going to trade Jazz Chisholm, who was an all-star this year? I guess we'll see. But if Sandy Alcantara could somehow go to the Yankees, gosh, him and Tony Gonsolin are probably the favorites, but Musgrove too, maybe, for the NL Cy Young. But yeah. So anyway, that will do it. So Yankees tonight, first day of Jets training camp, along with the Giants as well. Great news for Becton. Great to see him out there. Pumped up to see what this offensive line how this offensive line will perform, I should say, because we know what it's going to look like now with Becton playing right tackle, Font playing left tackle. Perfectly fine with that. It's in a good spot. Tucker and Becton playing next to each other for hopefully many, many years to come, and should be a dominant offensive line for a long time. So that's what I got for the podcast here today. Enjoy the game tonight for those of you who are going out. Bring the energy that the fans brought last night. For those of you who are going out for another night, bring the energy again, because last night was phenomenal. Hoping for a Yankees win. And as always, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.